tracking. But let's now talk about how all of these overnight cues that we just went through really impact our own markets, as well as the domestic cues that you should track ahead of today's trading session. We have Ekta, Surbhi and Nigel here to prep us up for this trading session. Guys, a very good morning to all of you. Ekta, coming to you first. We saw a very, very flat close yesterday. Take us through everything we should watch this morning.
Morning, Pavitra. Yes, like you mentioned, the Nifty consolidated in yesterday's trading session. It closed with minor gains. It has, in fact, corrected from that 1,992 intraday high that we saw on 20th of July due to mixed corporate numbers, uncertainty ahead of the Fed. Remember that Adrian Movat, in fact, was talking to us yesterday, and that's exactly what he said, that India's results season has been a little disappointing, hence might see consolidation, and that seems to be playing out. But the one important cue, which is probably going to come back as a resurgence or maybe some upside for our markets, is the FIIs that have net bought after 2 consecutive sessions of selling. So they net bought around 1,088 odd crores in the cash market yesterday. DIIs net sold around 333.7 crores. So maybe FIIs resuming their buying would help in terms of the Nifty resuming its uptrend as well. Now, in terms of the global markets, the US Fed meet as well as earnings would be in focus. US closed higher. We had Alphabet, which gained post numbers, Microsoft, which corrected. Asia is largely lower ahead of the Fed decision. SGX is indicating a quiet start as well. For our markets, stock-specific action continues. So L&T meet estimates and they've approved a 10,000 crore buyback. Tata Motors, 41% jump in revenue. The company has announced a conversion of DVR shares to ordinary. Today we have results from Axis, Bajaj Finance, BPCL, Cipla, Dr. Reddy's, PNB, to name a few. So that will continue to be in focus. Just a quick word on the macros. IMF has revised FY24 India's GDP growth forecast to 6.1%, which is 20 basis points higher than the April estimate. So that would definitely bode well in the background. The big cues for our markets continue to be earnings plus the Fed beat.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. Surbhi is also here to, point out all of the individual stocks that we should watch for. Surbhi, like Ekta was just pointing out, it is going to be a lot about the individual earnings that came through, some big ones as well post-market as yesterday. So take us through the list.
Thanks so much for that. So some big earnings. Let's start with Tata Motors first. The revenues were up 42% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA margins came in at 13%. Additionally, the company is going to cancel the DVR shares and issue ordinary shares. So they're going to issue 7 ordinary shares for every 10 DVR shares held. L&T, the revenues were up 34% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA margins came in at 10%. Additionally, the board has approved a buyback of up to 10,000 crores. SBI Life, the VNB margins misses street expectations, came in at 28.8% versus 30.4% same time last year. And APE saw a growth of 4.5% on a year-on-year basis. Dixon Tech, the revenue was up nearly 15%. Margins came in lower by 50 basis points at 4% versus 3.5%. Amber Enterprises, the revenue was down 7% on a year-on-year basis, but margins were up 240 basis points, came in at 7.8%. And lastly, Cyient, on a sequential basis, the revenue was down nearly 4%, and the EBIT margins came in at 14.7% versus 14.2% in the previous quarter.
All right, that is a long list of earnings reactions. Surbhi, thanks a lot. We're going to watch for all of these in today's trading session. And like Ekta was pointing out, a lot of earnings that will be posted today as well. So there's a lot of stock-specific action that we should look at. But finally, Nigel is also here to run us through all of the cues that we should really focus on from the futures and options space. Hi, Nigel. What are you looking at?
Well, morning, Pavitra. The last few days we've been making lower lows. So that's a bit of a worry from a bullish perspective. The bears actually will be feeling quite good. The FIs, well, in the FNO space, they added some short positions and they unwound some long positions. And that's where the short positioning has now moved to around 34%. Now, the PCR is more or less stable at around 0.8 approximately, but there is call writing that we're seeing at around the 19,700 odd mark. So the crucial levels come up for you on the screen. Let's see how it goes. But based on tonight's outcome of the Fed, we'll get further market direction. For the time being, some range-bound trade. Back to you.
All right, some range-bound trade after the very sort of flat moves that we saw yesterday. Nigel, thanks a lot for taking us through all of those cues. With that, we do need to get into a short break. But like we've been telling you, the big earnings reactions to watch for today are definitely Tata Motors as well as L&T after they posted Q1 results yesterday. So we're going to bring you the fine print when we come back.